don't quite know how he's going to pull it off, but we're going to find out. So please give a big round of applause for Lewis Packwood.
So today we're all going to play a game, and we're all going to play it together. And we're going to go on a journey through the mysteries of curious video game machines, past and present. And you're all going to help me try and get to the end. So let's investigate. Welcome to the world of curious video game machines. You're in a kind of room. You have no memory of how you got there. Beside you is a knapsack. Indulge your curiosity. Find the wizard. Pass the test. Enter Nirvana. You take the knapsack and note. You look around. There are 4 walls and 4 doors. Where do you want to go? So we've got north, south, east, west. Put your hands up if you want to go north. Hands up for north. 2. Hands up for south. Oh, there's about 5. East. Everyone wants to go east. Hands up for west. Okay, looks like we're going east. Okay, let's go. Let's see what happens if we go east. Oh, okay. You have been immolated by a crazed gang member in the future year of 1998. Well, that doesn't sound very good. Well, let's have a look and see what happens. Oh, yeah, you're on fire. I'm sorry about that. Well, that's interesting. Seems like you wandered into Sega's 1991 hologrammatic arcade machine, Time Traveller, created by Rick Dyer, the chap behind Dragon's Lair. There's a load of stuff about Time Traveller and other hologram-based games in curious video game machines. Pity you're too dead to read it. Right, let's try again. Okay, where are you going to go now? So north, south, east, or west. So hands up for north. 1. Hands up for south. Oh, a few more. Hands up for west. Oh, west. That's it. West is the clear winner. Let's see what happens if we go west. Oh. Your path is blocked by an angry Chris Crawford. He has a chainsaw. The legendary Atari programmer, founder of GDC and creator of Balance of Power, looks angry. What do you do? Do you tell him you're playing a text adventure and you'd just like to get past, please? Say, slain any dragons recently, Chris? Shout, show us your capacitor, Chris, over the angry revs of the chainsaw. What are you going to do? So let's have hands up. Tell him you're playing a text adventure. Hands up for that one. 1, 2, 3. 3 people. Say, slain any dragons recently, Chris? There's quite a few people there. It's about 8. And show us your capacitor, Chris. Oh, everyone's that. Well, of course, you have to shout, show us your capacitor, Chris. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So are you ready? On the count of 3. Show us your capacitor, Chris! Let's see what happens. Chris is immediately mollified. He ushers you into a back room where he shows you Tantics, a gaming machine he created from a Kim 1 microcomputer kit and various calculator parts in 1977 to 78. And there it is, there's Tantics. This box inside is a Kim 1 microcomputer. You had to buy it in kit form. It was one of the first MOS 6802 computers. And he made this bizarre machine. He says, oh, whoa, that is a big capacitor. It must be about the size of a Coke can. Crumbs, this seems important. You should pop that information in your knapsack. I presume you took the knapsack with you, yeah?
Of course.
Make sure you keep that information safe in your knapsack, okay? We're going to need that later.
And something else you should pop into your knapsack is the knowledge that PCBWay.com are our sponsor. They help us to keep the lights on and to host events like this, so we're very grateful to them. If you're in the market for PCBs, or if you'd just like to share some cool projects for retro-related hardware, head to PCBWay.com and see what they have to offer. I can't guarantee that they could recreate David Crane's time machine, but you never know.
But yes, this is Tantics, and he created these 2 tiny terminals that go with it. It was a wargaming machine where you had to hang a blanket between the 2 players, and they each had these 2 little kind of tiny calculator-style controllers, and the numbers on 2 rows of digits showed you the position of your tank, where it was facing, and along with this tiny little calculator thing, you had a hexagon-based map which showed you, and you had to kind of plot the locations of your tanks and your enemy tanks on one side, but this is all done in real time, so you're all kind of like doing it together. And this was way back in 1977, I think it was. So it's a pretty crazy machine. And actually, I should to take an aside. So this is part of the reason I decided to write this book. I interviewed Chris Crawford for a retrospective for Retro Gamer on balance of power. And just apropos of nothing, he just said, "Do you want to see this thing that I made?" And he just sent me some pictures of this. And I was like, what on earth is that? And that was how I kind of got into writing about this book. And it made me think of all the other weird things I'd seen down the years and thought, this is really interesting and no one wants to publish stuff about this. So I might as well write a book about it. Anyway, Chris happily chats with you about the creation of Tantics and then asks you whether you want to meet his old Atari chum, David Crane. Yes, please. Let's meet David Crane. Oh, look, it's David Crane. Lovely, cuddly David Crane. The creator of Pitfall chats with you about how he left Atari to co-found Activision, the world's first third-party games publisher, and how he had to build an entire Atari development kit from scratch. This is the second chapter. One of the chapters of the book is about Atari development kits. And do you know who else came up with an Atari dev kit? Actually, I should do his accent. What's his accent? And do you know who else came up with an Atari dev kit completely independently? I think that's a Californian accent, isn't it? My good pal, Gary Kitchen. And here he is, Gary Kitchen. Gary and David founded the publisher Absolute Entertainment in the 1980s, so named because Absolute would appear ahead of Activision in any directories. True. But before that, Gary worked out how to create a dev kit for the Atari 2000 all by himself, hooking it up to an Apple II with this crazy contraption. And there it is. Yeah, he came up with this all by himself. He suddenly thought, well, the Apple II's got a 6802 processor and the one inside the Atari's kind of the same, so I could probably make them talk to each other, and that's what he came up with. Very clever. Gary got started in the games industry at the electronics firm Wixted Design Associates, where he was given the task of programming the electronic pinball game Wildfire for Parker Brothers in just 6 weeks. Yeah, apparently the guy who was meant to program it pulled out at the last minute, so they were like, does anyone know how to program? And so poor old Gary Kitchen had to do the whole thing in 6 weeks. That sounds important. Better pop that information in your knapsack. Hey, says David. Want to see something really cool that I've made? His accent's changed now. I'm sorry about that. Sure, you reply, as you follow David behind a large paisley curtain at the end of the room. Oh, I wonder what's behind this curtain. Let's find out. David shows you his time machine. It looks like an Atari 400 computer, but someone has crudely written time machine over the 400 part. Go on, give it a try, beams David. It can even teleport you great distances instantaneously. I don't know where his accent's going. I'm really sorry about this. So where do you want to go and when? He readies his fingers over the membrane keyboard, ready to type a destination. Gosh, he is clever, that David Crane. Go on then, where do you want to go? So, we've got a choice. You can go to the psychedelic party time offices of Atari in the 1970s, the offices of German hearing aid company Interon in 1978, Yugoslavia in 1983, the headquarters of Rick Dyer Industries in 1984, South Korea in the late 1980s, a Saturday evening variety show in Japan in 1992, the set of Dede the New Reality in 1994, a Japanese game show in 1996, or a mysterious branch of W.H. Smith beyond the veil of time. Okay, so we're going to have to do hands up again. So first of all, Atari, hands up. Oh, quite a healthy Atari audience there. Hearing aid company. Only a couple there. Yugoslavia. Well, a few keen Yugoslavia fans. Rick Dyer Industries. No one cares about Rick Dyer. South Korea. Just one for South Korea. Variety show in Japan. No. Dede the New Reality. No one cares about that. Japanese game show. W.H. Smith. Oh, everyone wants to go to W.H. Smith. Everyone wants to go to W. Well, let's see what's in W.H. Smith beyond the veil of time. You encounter the Wizard of W.H. Smith. Greetings, says the wizard. Well done for getting this far. In order to reach gaming nirvana, you must first pass the test. You should have 6 pieces of information in your knapsack. If you don't, you should turn around now and continue your quest to find curious video game machines. Are you ready to face the test? Are you ready to face the test? Who wants to face the test?
Yes.
There's one person for that. Who says no, let's not face the test? That's most people. Who wants to face the test? Well, I think the no's win. I think maybe we better go and see if we can find those. So I think we've got 2 bits of information so far. Let's see if we can find some more. So I think the second place I'm going to say is Atari, because I think that seemed the second most popular. So shall we go and see the psychedelic party time offices of Atari in the 1970s? Let's see what's happening there. Welcome to the Atari Video Music Disco! Let's party like it's 1977. You enter the offices to see Atari employees gyrating like loons to the psychedelic melodies of the Grateful Dead, while weird patterns shift and merge on the TV behind them. And if you turn around, we have actually got an Atari Video Music live in the studio.
Grateful Dead, eh?
Unfortunately, we can't broadcast the Grateful Dead because we don't have the rights to it. So here, enjoy some royalty-free disco music.
My favourite.
So the Atari Video Music was an early light synthesizer which created diamond-shaped patterns that moved in time to music. It cost just under $200, the equivalent of over $1,000 today, and understandably, it didn't catch on. But video music visuals did turn up in the video for the 1979 Devo song, The Day My Baby Gave Me a Surprise. And there it is. That's the Atari Video Music in the background. Atari also released a couple of other curious consoles in 1977 in the form of Video Pinball and Stunt Cycle. Okay, enough partying, let's get back to the present day. Okay, so now we've got a choice. So we're going to have to make a decision again. So we're going to go to the hearing aid company. Yugoslavia, well, let's carry on. Let's do hearing aid company first. Hearing aid company, oh, that's quite popular. Yugoslavia, a few fans. Rick Dyer Industries. No one cares about Rick Dyer. This is so sad. South Korea, a bit of curiosity for that. I think let's go for the hearing aid company because that seemed like a very popular choice. Let's see what's happening in Germany. You enter the offices of the German hearing aid company Interon. Immediately you spot a poster on the wall. Wait, those aren't hearing aids! Das Kassettenprogramm. Yes, Interon has developed an unusual sideline, developing video game consoles alongside its usual hearing aids. Its latest model is the Interon VC4000, a rival to the Atari VCS. But this console is powered by the seldom-used Signetics 2650 chipset and features analog controllers. So it's a really unusual console, this. For a start, it was 1978 and there were analog controllers, which hardly anyone was using at that time, so that's strange. And it used the Signetics 2650, which is made by Signetics, which is a Californian company, which was bought by Philips. The Signetics is most well known for this tiny little chip that they made, which is like a timer chip, and you find it in everything. Like, there's more than 1 billion of these little chips that have been made, and you'll find it in light switches and everything. But they also tried to do a gaming kind of chipset, and it was used in a couple of computers, but then kind of died off. But weirdly, the Interon, and there's a whole load of other computers that were made by this company called Radofilm in Hong Kong, and they all kind of work together, even though they've got different cartridge sizes. If you can adapt them, there's this whole range of other consoles using this weird, obscure chip that all work together, which I've written a bit about in the book. Let's do more about Interon. So Interon has been doing this for a while. Its first console, the Interon Video 2000, was released in 1975 and shared similarities with the Magnavox Odyssey, which is right here, actually. You can see the Magnavox. So they licensed the technology from Magnavox to make their own version. But it was kind of a weird hybrid, whereas the Magnavox was actually analog. This one was kind of half digital, half analog. But it used interchangeable cassettes, but essentially they were just like the Magnavox. They just rewired the bits of the console rather than actually having the game saved on them. It's quite an odd machine. Anyway, that might be important. You should pop that in your knapsack. Okay, let's get back to the future. Right, okay, so we've got a few more choices now. So, Yugoslavia. Who wants to go to Yugoslavia? Oh, you're so keen. Oh, everyone loves Yugoslavia. Okay, we're going to go to Yugoslavia. Why not? You discover Vojislav Voja Antonić putting the finishing touches to his masterpiece. The Galaxia is a low-cost, open-source computer that's designed to get around the Yugoslavian government's ban on importing importing goods, I should say, worth more than 50 Deutschmarks. That actually happened. You had to have a special permission to import anything that cost more than 50 Deutschmarks. So the instructions for making a Galaxia were printed in a magazine along with a guide on how to source the components. The magazine's initial print run of 30,000 sold out, and it was reprinted twice. In total, 100,000 copies of that issue were sold, and many thousands of Galaxias were made, providing many Yugoslavians with their first experience of computing. Because the Galaxia didn't come with a case, people improvised their own, meaning no two Galaxias look alike. So I had the pleasure of speaking to Voya. He lives in California now, and he's an amazing character. He came up with this machine, and because he tells me that a lot of the Galaxias remained naked for the whole life. People didn't bother building cases for them. But it really did kickstart computing in Yugoslavia. And he reckons it led to a change in the law a year later after the Galaxia came out, because so many people were building these machines. And the government actually relented and increased the amount of value of goods that people could import, which ironically made the Galaxia obsolete almost immediately. So within a year, people could import Spectrums and Commodore 64s and things like that, and no one wanted to build a Galaxia anymore, which was underpowered compared to the other machines at the time, but very clever and quite cute as well. And it really did kickstart the computer industry in Yugoslavia. Okay, let's get back to David Crane. Right, so now where are we going to go next? So, who wants to go to Rick Dyer? There's a few people. Okay, who wants to go and see South Korea? Oh, people are keen on South Korea. All right, variety show in Japan? Anyone? No. Dendy? No. Game show? Okay, let's go to South Korea. That seemed like the clear winner. Right. You spot a TV. Hold on. What's this advert?
가족과 즐기세요.
What was that, you're thinking? Well, that was the Deye ZX. It's a commercial for the new ZX console from the Korean film Deye. Doesn't it look gorgeous? Look at it! Oh, it's so beautiful. So, I don't know if you've heard of Deye. I think if you have heard of Deye, you probably might be thinking of them as making an affordable car that was available in the kind of early 2000s in the UK, or possibly your fridge. I don't know. But in the 80s, they made games consoles. They made computers and games consoles. And they were never exported outside Korea. So you've never seen them. This was the first one, the original ZX. It was 1985, I think. And they made them in a range of colours. And they're gorgeous. I think they're some of the most beautiful consoles ever made, particularly this one. So this is the ZX V, and it also came in a range of colours. And yeah, isn't that fantastic? That one came out in 87, I think. And it's essentially the same model as the original ZX, but in a fancy, exciting rocket shape. And it came in red and white as well. But they were all based on MSX. So I don't know if you've heard of MSX. It was this computing standard that was developed in the early 80s. It was mostly used in computers. And the story goes that Deye kind of made a load of these MSX computers, and then the MSX standard moved on to MSX2, I think it was next. And then they had a load of MSX1 components all left over. So someone said, well, let's just make them into a console. And that's how the original ZX came about. But it proved incredibly popular. And they made another one called the ZX V, the ZX Super V, I should say, which has this fantastic little kind of Trivial Pursuit style controller there with the segments. And the final console they made was the ZX Turbo, which even resembled the Starship Enterprise. Do you think that looks like the Starship Enterprise to you?
Looks like a Hoover.
A Hoover? Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, that's the craziest thing. I mean, what an amazing design for a console. Actually, that last bit might be important. Better pop it in your knapsack. But yeah, that was the last one. And for a number of reasons, consoles kind of died a death in the early 90s in Korea. The PlayStation and things never took off, and it all switched over to PCs. But there's still quite a lot of fondness for the ZX in Korea. And they're very hard to get hold of. It's outside of Korea, really impossible to find. Okay, back to the time machine. Right, what have we got next? Rick Dyer Industries? Anyone? Oh, there's a few cautious hands. What else have we got? Saturday evening variety show in Japan. Oh, look at that. That's very keen. Very keen to do that one. Right, let's go for that. You're seated in the audience for the Saturday evening variety show Hue Hue. After an opening dance number, there's a rather unexpected segment.
Barco Battler で買いましょう。バーコードバトラーで買うっていうことなんだよ。今日はゲストの2人にやってもらいますからね。さあ、花井ちゃんよろしく。はい。
簡単にご紹介しますと、まず商品についているバーコードバトラーに入力してもらいます。
噛んでないですねこれ。
じゃあちょっと見てみましょう。はい。どのくらいですかね。
生命は1万で。
あ、本当だ。生命1万当てました今。攻撃力が極端にない。ディフェンス力はまあ普通。たくさん。
So it looks like they've got a Barco Battler hooked up to a handheld scanner. Now, I don't know if you remember the Barco. Is there any hands up who remembers the Barco Battler? Oh, you've got. Oh, there we go. Look, Neil's produced one. There we go. Have a look. So that one is just called the Barco Battler. This is the version that came out in the UK. But that same console was called the Barco Battler 2 in Japan because there was one the year before in 1991. So we actually got the sequel. And in Japan, it was incredibly successful. It was kind of like similar to Pokemon in how big it was, to the point where it appeared on primetime TV. This is a Saturday night kind of primetime TV show. And the idea of this game show is that they've hooked up a Barco Battler, which normally has a little card reader on it that you scan barcodes through, and then it uses the numbers to calculate attack and defense points and hit points, and then you kind of fight another barcode. And on this show, they've kind of hooked it up to a TV and a handheld scanner and made it all slightly fancy. And this game show, they've got two contestants here, and they're going to go and rush over. You'll see it in a second. They're going to rush over to a shelf of magazines, and then they're going to pick one and then use that magazine, the stats from that magazine, to battle each other by scanning the barcode. So the fact that it was on Japanese kind of Saturday night TV is kind of just goes to show you how popular the Barco Battler was. And there was all sorts of merchandise to go with it as well. So I don't know if you can see it. It's a bit small on here, but you can see some of the merchandise. This is a board game that actually used the Barco Battler. You could put it in the middle to randomly generate moves and things. What else have we got? There's kind of keyring stationery, these kind of handkerchiefs, and all of these different cards. I don't know if you can see there, but there is a Sonic card and a Mario card as well. So potentially you could battle Sonic and Mario on the Barco Battler. It was a long time before Mario versus Sonic at the Olympics. Although we don't think these are actually official ones. We think they actually came with a magazine. So those it's still slightly unsure where the Mario and Sonic ones came from. But there were official Super Mario World things, which I'll talk about in a second. There are even special card sets to collect based on licensed properties like The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario World. Actually, that sounds important. You better pop that in your knapsack. There were other ones as well. I think there were cards based on Street Fighter 2 and various other things. Lord Monarch as well was another series. It was huge, basically. Absolutely huge. Right, let's get back. There's more to discover. So, where are we going to go next? We've got Rick Dyer Industries or Dede or Japanese Game Show. So hands up for Rick Dyer. A bit more popular now. Hands up for Dede. One. Japanese Game Show. We just had a Japanese Game Show. We don't need another one, do we? Let's go and see what Rick Dyer's doing. You encounter the creator of Dragon's Lair, Rick Dyer. Rick's company, RDI, is working on a home laserdisc console called Hlium that will not only play cinematic games, but can also recognise your voice. But Rick's appearance on the TV show Computer Chronicles doesn't go to plan, as the Halcyon struggles to recognise host Stuart Sheffey's commands.
Okay, now this I understand is the very first time you're actually showing off Halcyon on television anywhere. Let's get going. Show me what this thing can do.
Okay, I think maybe the first thing is we'll just turn him off and turn him on. As you remember, you were talking with Hal before, so now when we turn him on, all you have to do is say your name. He will recognize your voice and recognize who you are.
Okay. So
welcome to Halcyon. Do you want to play Sayers Quest?
Yes.
Yes. If I have your voice print, please say your name or else press any key.
Stuart.
Nice to see you again, Stuart Hefe. Can I call you Stuart?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Pretty
Stuart.
impressive.
A little bit familiar.
Last time you played your score was 764.
It's referring to the last time.
That's right.
50,000.
I did pretty poorly.
Do you want to continue your game?
Yes.
Yes. Please insert the disc for part 1 of Sayers Quest.
And now we'll see some pictures, Rick.
You'll continue right where you left off.
Okay, now what you've done is really combine some technologies that have really been around. You've got the recognition of speech, trainable speech recognizer is something that's available today. And also the speech synthesis is also something that's available. So you've combined in a package here that really makes a story and what is that unique part of it?
Give it to the fairies.
So, as you can see...
Now that's me, sort of. I'm the character in this story.
That's right, you were that character.
And I've got a choice now. Sorry, Hal.
Let's go to the forest clearing.
1.
What?
1.
Speak consistently, Stuart.
1.
Sir.
2.
2.
Is that okay? I mean...
Sure.
I'll try this different story then.
Oh, fellow.
Who are you?
Nigel the Huntsman. I know much of these woods. For example, I know that the Crystal of Lothar will enable you to overcome the familiars.
Nigel the Huntsman. Why? There should be more huntsmen called Nigel, I think. Anyway, so yeah, didn't quite go to plan there. The Halcyon, the idea was that you could just kind of talk to your games but it didn't really work very well because it was 1985. It was due to launch in 1985, but RDA went under before it was officially released. It was expected to sell for around $2,500, the equivalent of more than $6,200 today. Crumbs. It's just insane, really. So yeah, obviously it never got off the ground. But Rick Dyer did come back, as you saw earlier when you were immolated in 1991. He came back with a time traveller. And that's a leaflet that came with a Halcyon showing a few of the games. 2 of them still exist. We've got, I don't know if you can see, I don't think it's on there. There's a football game and there's Thayer's Quest, which we watched clips of. And there's also a few others that were meant to come out but didn't. Interestingly, there's one called The Spirit of the Whittier Mansion there, which is like a haunted house game that we've got trailers for. So the footage was definitely shot, but whether it was actually made into a game or not and what happened to that footage, we don't know. So it's kind of still a bit of a mystery what happened to these remaining games. Anyway, let's go back. Right, so what have we got left to do? So we've done the variety show. Oh, Dede, the new reality. We've got Dede or Japanese game show. So hands up for Dede. Dede, Japanese game show. I think Dendy's won that. So let's go and see what's happening in Dede, the new reality. Here we go. We leap into the middle of a broadcast of Dede, the new reality in 1994. Okay, let's see what's happening here then. So the Dede was a clone of the Nintendo Famicom that was marketed in Russia by this firm called Steepler. And this is a TV show that was dedicated to the Dede. You can see the Steepler logo in the background there. I wonder what this game is that he's going to show us. Okay, here's the Dede. He's putting it into the Dede. It's based on a Famicom Junior. Oh! I don't know. That doesn't look right. I don't remember this game. Anyway, so the presenter, Sergei Suponev, is demonstrating a new Dede game that appears to be a port of Sonic the Hedgehog starring Mario. It's called Samari. That sounds important. Better put that in your knapsack. The Dendy Famicom clone was so popular in Russia that it had its own TV show and magazine. It even became semi-official after the company behind it made a deal with Nintendo of America. So the story goes that Nintendo in America kind of cut a deal with Steepler to distribute the Super NES. They kind of agreed to turn a blind eye to the Dendy if they sold the Super NES. Although, as it turned out, hardly anyone bought the Super NES in Russia because it was about 3 or 4 times the price of the Dendy. So it was kind of sort of official. But the Dendy was just one of many Famiclones sold around the world, like this freaking cool Batman one. Okay, there's a whole chapter on Famiclones in the book. There are some really interesting and weird ones out there. And the thing that I find fascinating about Famiclones is that they were, for huge swathes of the world, they're the only experience that people had of gaming. You know, they didn't have the NES or the Mega Drive or any of the things that we had. So this was just normal. And particularly in places like Poland, for example, the Pegasus there is really fondly remembered. There's a chapter all about them in the book. Right, time to fire up the Atari time machine again. Let's go back and choose another destination. I think we've only got one left now, haven't we? Should we go and see what this Japanese game show is all about? Okay, let's have a look. Is that Prop Cycle?
Yes.
You recognise the 1996 Namco arcade machine being used in this Japanese game show, but normally it looks like this. Yet on this Japanese game show, Chojigen Time Bomber, I can't say that very well, it's been turned into a tandem where the player in front steers and the player behind pedals. Plus the player at the back is wearing gloves that deliver an electric shock every time the cycle collides with a wall. And the game is different too. There are skull balloons that cause an instant game over if a player touches them. Well, we've got to have a look at this. Unfortunately, this isn't on YouTube, so I'm going to have to go over to another website and let's go and see what's going on here. Hopefully it's going to load. It may play an advert, I warn you. Let's see if it works. It is playing an advert. Cut this out. Cut this bit out. Okay, here we go. Sorry, the quality of this video is very bad, but it's very old. So you can just about see in the corner there. You can see it again. So this is an image of Prop Cycle, and these are the electric gloves. And there's the skull balloon. If you get the skull balloon, it's game over straight away. Okay, so here's the tandem Prop Cycle. So the person in front steers and the person behind pedals. Okay, so she's got the gloves on there. Right, let's skip forward a little bit. All right, here we go. Let's see how they do. Starts off pretty well. Okay. Let's see how we go. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's a shock. Oh. Anyway, you get the idea. So that was going on in Japan in 1996. It's not the only Prop Cycle variant either. There was a full-scale version of Prop Cycle. So you've probably heard of Ridge Racer Full Scale, have you? Where there was an arcade version of Ridge Racer with like an actual car that you sat in and like big screens. Well, there was one of Prop Cycle too, and it could only be found in Namco's theme park in Japan, which is wonderfully, wonderfully called Wonder Eggs. Namco Wonder Eggs. And you could go there and you could play the full version of Prop Cycle with the wind blowing in your hair and everything like that. Okay, let's get back to David. Right, I think we've done everything now. So should we go and face the wizard? Yes. Okay, let's go. You encounter the wizard of W.H. Smith. Right, are you ready to face the test? We must be ready now, surely. Yes, put me to the test, wizard. Okay. First question, what is the name of the Dendy game that mixes Mario and Sonic? Is it A, Maric, B, Mario the Hedgehog, C, Samari? Can you shout out the answer? Who's Samari? Okay, Samari, that's it, okay. Second question, which of these franchises featured on collectible cards for the Barco Battler? Was it The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, or Metroid? Legend of Zelda, yes. Okay, let's go through. Third question. How big was the capacitor on Tantics? The size of a C battery, the size of a Coke can, or the size of a Pringles tube? Coke can. Okay, that's good. Fourth question. What was the name of the first console released by Interon in 1975? Was it the Interon VC4000, Interon Video 3000, or Interon Video 2000? 2000. Oh, you're good at this. You're good at this. Okay, fifth question. How long did it take Gary Kitchen to code the electronic pinball game Wildfire? 6 months, 6 weeks, or 6 days? 6 weeks. Okay, oh, we're getting there. Final question. What was the name of the final ZX console which resembled the Starship Enterprise? Was it the ZX Turbo, the ZX V, or the ZX Super V? Turbo? All right, hands up for Turbo. Hands up for Super V. Okay, Turbo, let's see if you're right. A portal opens in W.H. Smith. Step through the portal to reach gaming nirvana, and your final reward, commands the Wizard of W.H. Smith. Okay, let's step through the portal. What's going to happen? Congratulations! You have reached gaming nirvana. Here in gaming nirvana, you can actually become part of a video game yourself, thanks to the avatar machine created by artist Mark Owens. You put on the avatar machine. The VR goggles transmit a picture from the camera mounted on a pole behind your back, meaning you can view yourself from a third-person perspective, as if you're an avatar in a game. You run around joyfully. Now the whole world is a video game. So this is a video here of Mark wearing the avatar machine. There's a fisheye lens camera on a pole on the back. So basically, when you're running around, this is what you're seeing, which is so bizarre, trying to control your body from the third-person perspective. Anyway, here, let's have a look. Now, you might recognise this is the South Bank in London. Now, I spoke to Mark for the book. I was saying, how on earth did you manage to walk downstairs doing all this and run around? And he told me when he did this video, or some of these videos, he actually cheated a bit and lifted up the VR goggles so he could walk around. Because I was like, there's no way you could do that. But he did take it all the way. He took the avatar machine all the way around the world and displayed it in different museums, and he got members of the public to try it on, and he said they were always like totally freaked out and weird because suddenly you're not quite sure whether your arm's your own or not because it's moving in front of you. It's all very strange. He only ever made a few of them, and they're all now in a lock-up in London somewhere. But I'm surprised no one's come back and tried the idea again because it's such a strange idea. I can imagine a lot of YouTubers tried it and running around. Anyway, that's the avatar machine. We hope you enjoyed your curious adventure. All of the consoles and computers you encounter can be found in the book Curious Video Game Machines by Lewis Packwood, along with many, many more rare and unusual machines. Buy the book to find out more, which is here today, so please buy my book. And I'll even sign it if you like.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and thank you again to Lewis Packwood for his fantastic choose your own adventure style talk. It really was a different way of approaching a talk here in the cave, and it worked rather well, I thought. If you'd like to come to the cave for future talks, head to retrocollective.co.uk where you can see what we've got on and book a ticket. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please take a moment to do so. All the links to buy Lewis's book are in the video description, so go and take a look. See you next time.